and write a thesis statement that stands out. And what I want to do today is really help you address one of the most common problems that I noticed my university students having. In fact, it seemed like 9 out of 10 students had this same problem. And it was having a vague, very general topic, and then having a really unclear thesis statement, if they even had a thesis statement at all. And the problem with this is that if you don't have a really good topic and a specific and impressive thesis statement, the rest of your paper is going to fall apart because you won't know what you're going to prove. And people read that introduction and they look at that thesis statement as a roadmap, as a clue to what you are going to write about in your paper. So, as we get started today, I'd love for you to just come on in and say hello, and also let me know how you are doing and where you are watching this from. If you're new to me, I'm Suzanne Davis, and I'm an academic writing tutor. And what I do is I help students excel at the writing that they need to do to succeed in high school, college, and graduate school. And so today it's a very special live workshop for me because I really get to take you through that first important step, that first important phase. So let's take a look at what we are going to cover today. And let me share my screen with you. And get started. Okay, so how to find a topic. Oh, hello, Mubarak. I see that you're here. It's nice to hear from you again. Okay. All right, so let's look at the very first thing you need to do to find a topic. All right. So the very first thing is you want to make sure you understand the writing prompt style. So at university or high school or wherever you are, chances are you're going to get a final paper a final paper assignment. And there will be a description telling you really what type of paper the professor is looking for. So it might be something where you are comparing and contrasting. It might be something where you need to argue. It might be something where you are analyzing a piece of literature. Make sure that you understand that writing prompt, because the next thing that you need to do is to ask yourself a general question in the style of that prompt. So if it is a compare and contrast question, then you want to have something very basic as your general question. And that would be something like, what topics can I compare and contrast in a specific field? So for me, it's that I would compare and contrast issues in education. So that after I have that question, I want to come up with a different way to really approach it and to think about it. So what I like to do at this point is to do some kind of pre-writing. Now, I recommend either free writing or brainstorming ideas, but you can do other things too to come up with a list of ideas. You might want to take Post-it cards and spread them around, write an idea for every card that you have. You might want to create a mind map with that general question in the middle. And then as you are writing different ideas, have them go out into different circles. And then I would also like to suggest another really cool tool that you can use, and that is called Jamboard. And Jamboard, I have a video here on how to use it, so you can definitely look that up. But it's a Google app that lets you just kind of create these digital note cards that you can move around. And so that's really neat and fun. All right, so after you've spent about 10 minutes coming up with ideas, I want you to then take a look at them. Decide what interests you. So at this point, you want to highlight the ideas that intrigue you, or you want to circle the ideas, and just really focus on what's most attractive to you, because you want to find a topic you are going to be excited to write about. And then that last piece is to see, since it's a research paper, if there's actually any research on it. So what I suggest you do is really just a quick search. Now, I don't suggest just Googling it in Google, because then you don't know if there's really a lot of credible sources. It's really much harder. I recommend that you use either at your university library or another university search engine to search your topic up. One place that everybody can use is Google Scholar. I also have another video on how to use Google Scholar, but I'm going to show you that in a little bit. Oh, and hello, Anne. I see that you are from Colorado. And Tahir. All right. You look like you're watching from the United Arab Emirates. Wonderful. All right. So after you've done these things, after you've selected the topics that have interested you and you've gone through and you've looked for research on them, I want you to choose one that meets both criteria, that's interesting and has a lot of research to it. And then when you've done that, you're going to really move into that second phase, which is looking for a research question, because you can't search really well if you don't have a question that guides you. So let's take a look at two ways to do that. Okay, so the first way to do that is to actually look at the themes and topics other scholars are writing about in that field. So I like to do this with Google Scholar, and we can take a look at that right now. All right. The other one is another common thing that you can do, and it is to see how you can classify any particular topic. So what I mean by classify or break into categories is to think of how you might divide that topic. So if we think of online learning, we can break that down. We could break that down into online learning for students in K through 6 in that elementary group. We could break it down into online learning for middle schools or for high schools or for universities. So that's one way to do it. And then another way to think about it is to take really your countries or your different states and look at how online learning compares in those. So there are different ways that you can break these things down. So when you divide your topic idea into those categories and you classify it, I want you to think of what are the most important smaller topics that interest you. And so here's a couple that I came up with. So this question here is about dividing it into middle schools. So how effective is virtual learning in middle schools during COVID-19? So that's a question that I could really research. I could find a lot of specific information doing that. So that's one example of how to do that. You can also look for those other ways to come up with research questions in that blog post. Another common one is to ask the journalist questions. So that's your who, what, when, where, why, how. But let's focus now on that really important piece, which is creating a thesis statement. All right. So to create a thesis statement, you want to look at really what can be provable. So you want to connect your topic to something you can prove. A thesis statement is what you are going to prove or show about your topic. So what are you going to show about virtual learning in middle school? Okay, so those are the types of things that a thesis statement would address. So what I like to do first is to write my thesis statement after I've done all my research. I find that a lot of times people will go straight from a question, they won't do a lot of research, and that's a big problem because how are you going to know if something's provable or if you can make a claim about something if you don't know what will back that up? So make sure that you've done all of your research before you develop this. And then what you're going to do is really ask yourself the essential question of what do I think about this topic and why? So what do you think about learning in online learning in middle schools? And then why? What's your support? What are your reasons for thinking that? And you can also do this where you might look at not just why, but how something is achieved. So usually if you're asking yourself a question about your topic and why you believe that or how, what supports that, you're going to arrive at your thesis statement. So the other tip is really to just look at your research question and turn that into a thesis statement. If you've got a really good research question, and you've found information that supports that answers that question, then you're almost guaranteed that that can turn into a thesis statement. So what I want you to do here is to take this with your own research questions. So on your next paper, I want you to try that and see how easy it is to write the thesis statement. So here's an example thesis statement that I could write about virtual classrooms compared to traditional classrooms. So here it's students in virtual classrooms learn less than students in traditional classes because. Why? I would finish that statement, that because, and then I have a really good thesis statement. Then I have something really specific and I know exactly what to put in my body paragraphs, because that because is exactly what the first, second, third paragraphs are going to be about. When somebody reads your paper, if they read that thesis statement, they're going to get a preview of what comes up next. And so that is really, really key. All right, so what I want you to do is try this on your own. So the next time that you have a research paper, what I would like you to do is to actually follow this process. Look at that writing prompt and figure out what kind of broad question you can ask about writing that topic. So again, like if it's an analysis paper for books, then you could say, what can I analyze in literature, or what books can I analyze? And then all of those pieces are the things that you would brainstorm. And then from there, you're going to go to your research questions. And after you do that, then take all of your research and take that question and turn it into your thesis statement. So I'd love to know how this goes for you the next time you try it. So please get in touch, put it at the end of this video, and let me know what you can come up with. And the one last thing before we wrap up, I want to let you know that next week I'm having a very special event, and I'm having my free webinar, 3 Secrets to Excelling at Academic Writing. And that will be on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you'd like to see it, I will be recording it, so that make sure you sign up for that. And I posted this in, I posted this in the video description, the link to it, but you can see it at this address here, which is www.academicwritingsuccess/3 secrets to excelling at academic writing webinar. So it's a really long piece, which is why I put it in the description. All right, so I'm just going to check one more time to see if there's any questions about this. I don't see. Hello, is it Zaki? And let's see, Mohammed, Sisa Lead. I know I'm getting your name wrong. I'm really sorry. I will try and pronounce it better the next time. But have a great week, everybody, and share any questions that you have about finding a topic or writing a thesis statement below. Cheers.